when you are a security person, there's a whole lot of ways that you can be a security person. And one of those ways is by being a security lawyer, which is an incredibly important thing that we couldn't survive without. So I thought, wow, wouldn't it be cool for you to hear from the lawyer from TikTok? And then also my friend Jim. So here we go.
Thank you.
How's everybody doing?
Great. So I thought it would be interesting. I know everybody shows their bio and most people run right past it, but I thought it might be worth dwelling for a second because we are your lawyers, but we have dimensions. we are more interesting than just the people who say no. So we did a little introduction. I'll let Dondi go ahead first.
Thanks, Jim. So yeah, I'm Dundee West. I'm originally from Selma, Alabama, which is famously known as the ground zero of the civil rights movement. So here's a little bit about me, but I'll skip all that and jump into like, how did I get into cybersecurity law? So I started my career at Fort Meade supporting an organization called the Joint Functional Command for Network Warfare. They were responsible for conducting offensive cyber operations in the days following 9/11 to help remove and prevent terrorist and extremist content. And I was the intel analyst that typically supported those type of operations. And side note, I promised someone that I'll talk about the spy balloon some type of way. The same legal framework that decided whether or not that balloon should get shot down is the same legal framework that's used when a country is sending a malicious payload for warfighting purposes. So it's all about like determining what's a valid military target. So part of that work as an intel analyst was to help do what's called a collateral effects estimate. So like there's a lot of debate going on right now, like why wasn't a balloon shot down sooner? Because whether or not to shoot it down depends on an intelligence analysis called a collateral effects estimate. So in doing that type of work at Fort Meade as an intel analyst, I would like go toe to toe with a lot of lawyers, and I would become very frustrated. And I said, you know what, this is going to become more of an issue. So I decided to go to law school. So here I am now. So with that, I'll go ahead and let Jim go.
Jim Svikas. I'm from Baltimore, Maryland, or if you're a local, it's a little closer to Baltimore, Maryland, I think is about right. I came to cybersecurity at Microsoft, but my only after some different turns. I was a software engineer. I was a patent lawyer for a while. And I actually also almost ended up at Fort Meade early on in my own career. One of those random choices that could have gone the other way. But yes, somewhere along the way, I decided I wanted to try being a lawyer instead, and then I ended up at Microsoft working on Windows. And somewhere along the way, I told my boss, hey, I'd like to try something different. Things are a little random for me. And he said, well, you know what would be interesting for you? Would be Windows security. What do you think of that? And I said, oh, I don't know. He said, you'll probably get promoted a little faster if you go there. It's like, okay, I can do that. And 7 years later, some things happened and some business investment happened. And here I am, and I'm now one of the leads for supporting Microsoft security sort of across the board. I should say before we go any further, I have a number of clients in sitting out here. I've worked with a whole bunch of you. You should assume that every single thing I say, I'm talking specifically about you. Jessica's my favorite in that bunch. When she called and said, "Do you want to do a lightning talk?" It's like, sure, okay, fine, yes, for you, because Jessica is the one that shows up in my messages and says, so there's a thing that I think you need to get involved in, and I think you want to kill it. I was like, oh, I hate that. I hate it when people call me and tell me they're only calling me to kill something that they don't like. It's just that Jessica's usually right. It's very annoying, but usually right. So I should say, in case it's not obvious, we don't have a plan. We're going to keep talking until we get the hook.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
yes.
I'll jump in real quick. One fact about Jim that many of you may not know. So I was at Fort Meade. He is from Baltimore, and as a part of like some of the community outreach that we would do, I went and spoke at a elementary/middle school called Roland Park. And that's where Jim went. But when I was there, the librarian came up to me and said, "Did you know that Tupac Shakur, the famous rapper, went to this elementary school?" And she showed me a book that Tupac checked out that had his name in the back. So I was like, wow, I'm holding a book that Tupac checked out and read. But that's the school Jim come from. So it's like a claim to fame. I always think about that when I see him. But anyway.
I overlapped with Tupac by 1 year. He's 5 years older than me, or was 5 years older than me. Yes, so we gave ourselves some questions. I'm going to throw out one other thing aside from calling every single one of you out that I've ever worked with as being, but I will say, because I came here from as a lawyer from other places, I once had to describe to some of my colleagues what it's like, what makes it different being a cybersecurity lawyer. I said, okay, here's the thing: if you were a patent lawyer, you've got clients and they're coming to you excited. You got engineers coming to you and say, "Jim, we just created this really cool thing, and we need your help to protect it. We need your help because we want it, like, we think is unique in the world. We want to protect it." All right, cool. As a regular product lawyer, when I started working on Windows, they come to me and they say, "Jim, we've got this great new product and we need your help to get it into the market." All right, cool. I know how to do that. I can do that. I started doing cybersecurity and they said, "Jim, we are in a war. There are good guys and bad guys. You are in the trenches with us now. You are one of us. Welcome to the team." That's the difference in our experience. The rest of my colleagues outside of people like us don't get that thrill.
Right.
So I guess that's in part an answer to that first question. What about you, Dondi? What do you like about being a cybersecurity lawyer?
So I like the fact that no 2 days are the same. I work on like a variety of issues ranging from national security to even going down to physical security. I like the diversity of the clients. I like the fact that I get to be a lawyer while still being within the security space, working with security professionals. I like the fact that being a security lawyer gives me a really good excuse to stay current on my technical skills. Learning new things. Like right now, I'm even learning Rust. I want to see what the big fuss is about with that. So yeah, I just enjoy it, and particularly at TikTok. There's a lot going on right now, as I'm sure many of you read about in the news. So it's a very interesting challenge for me. The idea of using security to build trust, to build a competitive advantage, and also use like all the things that we're doing in the U.S. as a model to spread around the world in different sovereign countries where we can move out on issues related to digital sovereignty, not in the U.S., not just in the U.S., but in any sovereign country. So that's really cool to work on. So yeah, just no 2 days are the same. And sometimes I can't believe that we even get paid to do this work because like we love it so much. So.
Then you have to work on Christmas to talk with talk about a breach with a customer, and then you say, well, maybe it's a good thing that I get paid for this.
Right.
I really appreciate the mission, and because of our mission, we get so many opportunities. The world is just getting more complicated, more and more complicated in what we all live in. Privacy to security. And to get to be the person in national security and one after another, to get to be the person that says, I understand what you guys are talking about in the privacy world. Now, let me tell you why we're an exception. Let me not an exception to privacy, but why we need to do things differently. And that's one of the things that I've loved at Microsoft is getting the chance to, when is Brandon still here? No, he's left. But when I'm working with people from the SOC team, and they say, "Look, we need this data to find the thing," and I say, "Yeah, that's interesting. I see what you're saying," and they say, "Yeah, but privacy says we can't do it."
Right.
All right.
Yeah. Another thing I'll mention is that it's interesting how with security, very rarely will you see an instance where the law is ahead of technology. So the law is always having to catch up with technology. So like in about a year or two within the EU, there'll be the NIS directive will be going into effect in the EU, which is like a security law. It's like the cousin law to the GDPR. But, if you look at the things that are within scope, the type of technologies that are within scope, AI is conveniently out. So it's like that law is already outdated before it even came out. So I like the idea that we're in a space where the law can't really catch up. And so it keeps us on our toes. It keeps us like thinking about like what's coming next. And it creates a situation where there's no shortage of like legislation. So it's a really interesting space to be in.
Oh, sure. Yes, I just got the nudge to go to the next question. How can everybody work with us better? What do you think? What are the questions that how could it be put to you better?
Yeah, I like to tell my clients to like bring us in at the idea phase. If you find yourself making this statement, I could promise you that there's a 99% chance that you've done it the wrong way. If you find yourself saying, "Let's get the security lawyer to sign off on this before we're done," because that means that you went through this whole from the idea phase to getting this blessed off or signed off on and to deploying whatever you're looking to do. You went through all that without the advantage of having a lawyer. And we're different from most lawyers, and I think Jim would agree with this. Like, we really enjoy the security space. So like, bring us in early, talk to us early, consult with us early, get our ideas early. Because even if we may not have the time to do a deep dive on this issue, we can start building coalitions. We can start in advance, removing roadblocks, thinking about who you could connect with and how whatever you're working on could be more cross-functional and effective. So bring us in early.
And that goes in exactly to where it leads right into what I lead with, which is remember that we're not here to say no. We're here about solutions. We're here about risk management, absolutely. But risk management is not about saying no. Risk management is finding the right solution that lets the business move forward. So, give us the chance, come to us with the opportunity to roll up our sleeves and understand what are you actually trying to accomplish? And acknowledge sometimes you guys come to us with the wrong question. That's not your fault. You're not lawyers. I don't expect that. But sometimes you think, in trying to be helpful, you're actually running 3 steps ahead. And if we rewind or zoom out or however you want to frame it, we can actually see the bigger picture and say, there's a path that you hadn't considered that makes perfect sense to me that will get you to the same destination. But that's a place, come to us with the opportunity to help us learn, help us understand what you're trying to accomplish, and maybe we can find that alternate path. What I love to tell people I work with is, and don't forget, I work for Satya too. So at the end of the day, I don't, for the most part, have the power to say no to you. I can say that's high risk. I can say, boy, if you want to do that, you really need a VP to approve it. But I can't actually, 99% of the time, I can't tell you, no, you can't do that. And so give me the opportunity to help you find a way to yes.
All facts. Yeah. And then the last question, what's on your mind for the future? It's hard for me to think about that these days with everything going on with TikTok. But one thing that's on my mind for the future is the idea that there might come a time where cyber threat actors will start to innovate within the AI space. So not simply use a chat GP. Like, it sort of irritates me a little bit when I see articles like, oh, chat GPT was used to do XYZ, but what happens when cyber threat actors produce their own version of an AI technology that they can deploy and use and customize how they want to, and not just cause a situation where OpenAI or even Microsoft can quickly patch something that they found was bad, but literally produce their own AI that the rest of the world don't even know about. So within the AI space, I'm trying to really think about like, what does that really look like in the hands of like cyber threat actors? And so that's the thing that's top of mind for me right now.
I worry about regulation. I think in 2 different ways. One, I worry about privacy regulation that is done thoughtlessly or uncarefully without accommodating for the fact that that security needs things a little differently. Again, in security, we can do security and still respect privacy, but a lot of the time we need to do it differently, and we need to think about our approach to data differently. So advancing privacy laws that don't account for it, I worry about that, and how I'm going to continue to enable you all to do what you do. The related one is that I think we are seeing more. Dondi mentioned the NIS directive in the EU. We're seeing more regulation specifically directed at security, with, again, not as much understanding of what they're actually regulating as I would appreciate. There's a lot of people in regulatory positions who think that if a 72-hour notification period for an incident is good, then 48 hours is better, and 24 hours is even better. And you know what's really amazing is if we could get notification 6 hours. That we should definitely write that into the law. I hope I feel confident that I don't need to tell anybody in this room why that's a problem. But it's a thing that weighs on me, not in and of itself, although it does, because that seems built for failure. But the rest of it. What about what about laws around information sharing? Again, that sounds like motherhood and apple pie. That sounds wonderful. But the flip side is, if the requirements are done thoughtlessly without considering the implications, then it results in us sharing a bunch of information that is not actionable, useless, scary without being helpful. And so I worry a lot about the ways that these new laws are going to impact the work that we're doing with the best intentions, and yet the wrong outcome, that'll stand in the way of our mission.
Yeah, and I want to pull that string about notification real quick that he mentioned about how countries are trending towards wanting notification immediately. Like when I was at Microsoft, we've tried really hard to argue against that mindset, because we were thinking about you all. And the last thing that we want to do as a lawyer in the middle of a high risk incident, 3 hours after the incident occurred, we don't want you all worried about giving us data to produce a report. We want people worried about isolating the malicious activity and actually doing real response instead of writing a report. But nevertheless, regulators are moving in that area. But just know that that's some of the type of work that we do when it comes to advocating and things like that. But I see the lights are off. I could talk about this all day, and it's been great chatting with you all.
Thank you all.
Thank you.